Revolutionary greetings, people. This is Christian Carstens, Interim Secretary of the EFF in Jeffreys Bay. Today we are here with the first episode of the Coastal Waves podcast, a revolutionary podcast where we are aiming to get all kinds of different leaders and figures of the revolutionary movement here to discuss real, relevant South African revolutionary politics. On this first episode, I'm here today with the Provincial Secretary of the EFF, Comrade Simtembile Madikizela. And we are going to have a very nice discussion. Nobala, tell us, how did you get into politics and how did you end up with us here?
Thanks. Let me also appreciate the fact that this great initiative that is initiated by a revolutionary and young person, and it's quite interesting that we are part of the organization that is growing, but also making impact on the lives of the people of the Eastern Cape. We started participating in this organization some time ago when I was based in Alfred Dinzo. But before the establishment of the EFF, I have been active in politics from the very early age. I think when I started being conscious about politics was in 1994, but there was no participation. Obviously, in 1994, I think I was 9 years old, so I couldn't participate directly. But I was conscious. I was so in love with politics.
Yes.
And then, in 1995, actually 96, then the politics were disseminating because in 1998 there was going to be elections of first local government councillors, and it happens that in our family we had a councillor who happens to be my guardian, a person who has mentored me, has played the role of a parent up to this age, and then from then I became very conscious of politics, and then participated obviously on the ruling party politics until 2008. When the politics of South Africa had changed, and then some of us were uncomfortable with those politics, but those were the phases where the factions within the ruling party were contesting the space in South Africa at that time. But 2013 introduced a very different approach, where a socialist revolutionary party took a decision to say, we are forming this organization, we are going to participate in contesting elections, and then this will be our approach on what do we want to achieve in South Africa. And then I ultimately, at exactly this formation, I was a bit trying to study how this organization is going to move, but out of strong persuasion, and then I think after 3 years the party has been established, I then had to join.
Yes.
And then I realized that this organization has a direction and it has a shape that it must take, and then we participated until I became the regional secretary in Alfred Dinzo, which I led for a full term, and then I was again elected for the second term, and then there was a provincial conference in this province of Eastern Cape in 2022 around the 4th, which coincide with this discussion. So and that 24th, not 24th, on the 4th of November 2022. So at that time, then I became the provincial secretary, which was a highly contested conference, and Provincial People's Assembly for the understanding of the fighters. So it was highly contested because people of Eastern Cape wanted to choose among the kind of leaders they have, the best among themselves, and see who would steer the ship going to the recent elections that we are coming from. So That's how I ended up participating in this organization. But I think it has been not a choice one had to take. It's more of a calling, this thing of politics, because you must also have passion about politics. You mustn't participate in politics with the thinking of now. You must think also long term, and even the plannings must be of a long term. And in the process, there are many things that do happen. There are many other things that do happen that one must look at. So I can briefly say that's how I have been participating in the EFF.
Yes. Well, Nobala, our organization's been growing so well, and we are very powerful and strong. We're talking about the Youth Command, the Women's Command.
We appreciate what we have achieved, which is the growth from 7% to 10.1%, which that 10.1% interprets to from 5 seats to 8 seats. Yeah, so now it makes us to have a serious, meaningful participation. We have raised serious motions, serious debates. We are actually playing an official opposition role, even though technically DA is supposed to be the official opposition, but they are not playing that role. They are not willing. Actually, they don't want to play.
Not stand for the people.
And you know that I think if you follow the news, you will know that there is this thing called GNU. So they are participating on a GNU at the national level. So locally they cannot criticize their partners. You have seen Yusuf when they have to argue certain issues. You see, Honorable Premier, they have to beg. You see, certainly we are not bound to that. We are free people. We engage on any issue. So. The election results, we are not happy. We are not happy with them, but the next 5 years is a chance for us to radically push the policies of the organization, push ourselves, make sure that we have a serious impact in the Eastern Cape, and we do change the people's lives as we go forward.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Nobali. Now, I think we remain just as relevant as ever. I think we are the only truly revolutionary party in this country, Marxist-Leninist formation. And as you say, if we look in the Eastern Cape, when I drove here, I also saw a bunch of the rural areas and poverty. And we have to, as you say, popularize that message again and get politics with the people, fuse politics with the people. And we are the only interface that can do that, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, you are quite correct. And some people thought the coming of the MK, the images of MK in the national politics, but mainly in KZN, would impact us here. And people get shocked, others to know that, to learn that MK has only one seat in the province. But people want to compare us with those people. They even think, they even think that it can have impact in the Eastern Cape, which is not possible. We have a very strong organization here in the Eastern Cape, and we have a potential to grow because I think DA, even in the last elections, it had 10 seats. Now it's I think it's 10, if not 11. I will check on my records, but the reality, I think they haven't made any meaningful impact as compared to ourselves. And even ANC, with the additional seats that have been added in the legislature, we are from 63 to 72 in total. But the ANC dropped, I think it dropped with one seat. With all those additional seats, it dropped with one seat. So there is an impact. Anything that drops them has impact on many other things, because these people that they employ in the legislatures and all of those things is mainly their volunteers. It's mainly people that they are using for their machinery. So we have disrupted part of their machinery. So that's the situation.
And Obala, what do you think of all these leaders of ours that have jumped ship and run to the MK now? What is its effect here in the province?
Now, as I said, I still maintain that MK would never have impact here in the Eastern Cape, and it's unlikely to have impact even going forward. But people who are uncomfortable with the certain approach or being led, actually, I can say so. Those who think that they must be in a competition kind of an arrangement. Because in a revolutionary organization, one of the most important thing is that revolution is led by individual. I think you are a reader, you are a kind of a person who observes these things. So a revolution is led by individual. There is no revolution that is spontaneous, that happens at its own, or that is shapeless. It has a certain shape. You have a face that will lead the revolution until a certain period of time. You see. So on the corridors, when even before our own PPAs and all of those things, there were people who were starting to count terms of leadership here, everywhere, members of the organization, because the democracy that the West has imposed in South Africa, people start to believe that that's a way of leading. So with the 2 terms limit of the constitution of the country, and then people immigrate that to their own organization and then think that the organization has to limit itself. If that approach was a correct approach, even ANC itself would have put it in its own constitution that a president or deputy president or so ever leads this period of time. And then at this time there was election of a new one, and then or this one is prohibited to contest at this that period of time. So, but in a revolutionary movement, you can't be obsessed more about how many times a leader leads. If that was the case, OR Tambo wouldn't have led the ruling party for 30 years. You lead an organization until a certain mission is achieved, and then which is ultimately to change the government of South Africa. As the EFF, we want to change the government of South Africa, and we have a face that is President Julius Malema. So I think in the process or in the corridors of the organization, there were those who were already fantasizing of being president of the EFF or leading the EFF. Hence, you can see that a sudden departure of the Floyd Shivambu, and then feeling that I think in his mind, he had planned that he might become the president of the EFF. And then when he realized that people of the EFF loved the president and are clear about that, and then he said, okay, this is the right time. I must leave while I'm still having some gravy, while I'm still having some little bit taste, because maybe the outcome of the National People's Assembly would be different, because we are going to National People's Assembly and we know what is the mission. And if you look even general in South Africa, the most hated leader by the white capitalist, especially the Stellenbosch mafia, the Ruperts, Oppenheimers, and so on. The person they hate most is President Julius Malema, and they are most uncomfortable. In 2019 elections, they once bought all red cloths, t-shirts in every factory. Every factory they had to buy every cloth that is red. Even the house had to struggle because
just to get the red off.
They had to. They bought them and then kept them and their warehouses. That's for the elections to pass. So that after elections they can release. So the EFF, even if it has money, it must not have materials. And then it was when the EFF learned that it was too late. It couldn't even go to China or try something else. We struggled in 2019, and even in at that time we grown. The organization grown. Everywhere actually in the country, the organization grew and food steadily. And now, so all those attacks didn't survive. Now the main attack is to then portray the president as this person, as this character that cannot be trusted or that cannot be given a responsibility of leadership. And then we are expected to participate in such a distraction. So it's not something all of us we can participate on, because we joined the organization consciously. We're participating in an organization consciously of the consequences of being part of the organization. You can even see on social networks how is the attitude of certain people. They want to create us as these violent people who are not orderly and all of that. But whenever they are invited to prove that, they are failing. They can't prove that these people, their ideas cannot work, or these people are not capable of leading, or these people are this kind of whatever loose or unorganized leaders and so on and so on. And even when there's far Mashaba went as far as inviting them and saying, okay, if you say these people, this organization is corrupt, just bring the proofs. I was the mayor. I had interaction with the entire leadership of the at the national level, but not a single one has ever said to me, please, let me have this tender or direct this tender to so and so and all of those things. But all of those things happen because the mainstream media and the capitalists have taken decisions. So even initiatives of this nature, people, as you are also initiating this process, this podcast, initiatives of this nature where we tell our stories are very important.
Yes.
Every corner we must have such initiatives where we are telling our own stories. We are telling our stories in local government, councils, what are we doing where, and so on and so on. Because no mainstream media will come and tell our stories. We must tell our stories ourselves. Yes.
No, I agree with you, Nobala. I think having media platforms like this is incredibly important, because we can't go every day, walk the whole South Africa. We've got to get the message to spread like this, And regarding these leaders walking from our organization, I agree with you that I think there's a great deal of opportunism that's part of it.
Yes.
I also think there's some of them a lack of ideological clarity.
Yes.
Because I don't know how you can go, as you said, someone who consciously joined the EFF as a Marxist-Leninist organization, then go to something that is not vanguard in character, not Marxist-Leninist in ideology. So I agree with you, but I think it's the opportunism and that as well,
Yes. In the main, I think you are quite correct. In the main, it's opportunism when a person feels that it's my time and believing that maybe if I'm the secretary of the province, there are benefits that I'm having that another person who would want to benefit on. And by pushing me, maybe this person is going to benefit those certain benefits. And not realizing that the package is very difficult. There is a package that maybe there are things that look good at a distance, but the responsibility of leadership, especially leading the opposition party, it's not an easy one. First of all, you are under threat. Even your life is under threat because you will raise sensitive issues. If there is a corruption that involves a billion, million, and all of those things, the Auditor General always releases 1 point something billion of irregular expenditure that happened in OR district municipality and other areas. Sure. If you speak firmly about those things, you are provoking people who have
become like that.
Yes, you are provoking people who have benefited on those things. So it means that even your own life would be at risk, because no one wants to go to jail, no one wants to be prosecuted. So people will find any means necessary to protect themselves. But the scope is clear. The scope is clear, is that we must oppose and you must expose shenanigans, you must expose any kind of a behavior, you see. So that's what I was also participating on strongly. When I was in Alfrenzo, we once pushed a mayor there. He had to resign 7 months before the end of his term, because this mayor awarded a bursary of 60,000 to his son, biological son, not a son of a brother or something. Gave his son 60,000 bursary from the coffers of the municipality. So we had to push that mayor out. He had many other corrupt activities. Those people would be, you see, the kraal for the sheep. His kraal would have concrete the sheep would sleep on the concrete. When they leave on the morning, it would be cleaned with hose pipe and all of those things.
Yeah.
Things that you see, he has done everything. He has built houses. He has done everything. Now he has to do extraordinary things that have never happened in the history, because this money he has not sweat. He was not sweating for it. It's a money that is stolen. So he doesn't know how to spend it. So and the man was untouchable. No one wanted to touch him. We were told, you touch this guy, you are gone. Anything would happen to you. But we had to push the guy, push extremely, until his own party forced him to resign. 6 months before the end of the term, but they have since returned that guy back to be a speaker now.
Oh, wow.
That's how rotten is this guys. But in the main, it doesn't say we stop fighting. We stop pushing for the right ideas. We stop persuading people to start thinking otherwise. So. We are not threatened by any other political parties. Our mission is very strong, and we know very well that ultimately people will believe in what we are doing. So we will do everything, including saying we will tell our own stories. We are not going to wait for someone like SABC, ETV or whatever to tell us, to invite us to tell our stories. We are going to tell our stories. And the society has changed. There is social media, there is everything. So we are going to utilize any platform to tell our own stories and say, these are our good stories. The bad stories is your decision to tell them.
Well, Nobala now is the 3rd National People's Assembly in December. We are supposed to be and are a disciplined Marxist-Leninist, Pan-Africanist vanguard party. What is the implication of the character of our party and how our members should be acting now, especially in the Eastern Cape, approaching this National People's Assembly?
Well, when it comes to Eastern Cape, for example, historically, Eastern Cape actually is a province of disciplined people, people who doesn't necessarily allow any form of provocation to direct their reaction on any situation, but also going to participate to the National People's Assembly is guided mainly by the guidelines, discussion documents. There are many important things that people must look at when they go to the National People's Assembly. One of the most important things is that we are done with the elections of the delegates, and then those delegates have a mandate that they must carry, which is to ensure that the policies of the organization are a reflection of what happens on the ground. But also there is something that is called organizational redesign that has to do with also certain constitutional amendments that we will have to debate, because there are also debates that say there must be a youth league, or actual youth command in our language, that will counter these youth formations. So it's one of the important debate that we will have to look at, and we will also have to look whether our branches are fine as what based, or we have to take the branches to the level of the VD, or do we have to have regions, or we have to have sub-regions, even province itself, and then what are the roles in the province, maybe the constitution of the structure, how we are constituting the structures, maybe we must consider maybe reshaping them and all of those things. So there are many other things that have to be discussed going to the National People's Assembly, except the leadership. Before you arrive to leadership, there are many other things that you must discuss, and you must create a foundation for these people that are going to lead, to steer the ship for the next 5 years. But also the leadership question, you must not tiptoe around the leadership question. You must raise sharply things because 5 years is a very long time. And it means once you submit this assignment, you will correct it in the next 5 years. You won't correct it now.
Yeah.
So whoever you elect, you must scrutinize, especially under the current circumstances. There is infiltration, but also you must also look capacity. The fear of infiltration mustn't make you doubt people who are vocal, because there will be people who are vocal, and then they will fear as faith fighters. Maybe this one is going to leave us. Maybe is advocating ideas of other parties and all of those things. But we must have a kind of testing the revolutionary conscience of the people and the revolutionary commitment to the organization and their own contribution. And you will not contribute to an organization that you don't care about its future. Yeah. If you care about the future of the organization, you will contribute meaningfully, positively, and ensure that that particular organization is able to have direction.
Yes. No, I agree with you, Nobala. Our members now have to stay calm and carry on. They've got to do the work, come with what they want to discuss at the People's Assembly. And as you say, last on the list is leadership. Because if you don't know what you want to do, what does it help to decide a leadership? So I think, I agree with you. And this time, let's have our members focus on what to discuss.
In the main is discussions. Yes. Because, some people say what they said about one person was telling me a story about the Polokwane 2007 conference that people of Jacob Zuma went there to elect by all means necessary, only to realize later that the policies after conference they realized that the policies are still the same policies of those guys, because they thought immediately after these guys of Mbeki are defeated and then are going to leave the conference venue and all of that, and then everything automatically becomes the thinking of the Zuma cabal. But all those cabals were bought. The handlers of these ones of Mbeki had given them mandate that this police must not change, this one and that one must not change. True. So hence Jacob Zuma prioritized certain changes at a later stage and realized that he's a kind of a person that old man that changes his mind now and then. So hence this new advocacy, these things that he says at age of 84, 82 or something, he says he wants to change the constitution, he wants to change that and that and that. But all of those things were not said at the right time when he was given power. 2 terms. The guy couldn't change anything in South Africa. Couldn't implement any radical policies, only realized later that he was supposed to have done that. So he wants now to do correction after years of being out of power. It's almost going to 10 years being out of power. Now he wants to do correction. So when you go to conference or any kind of discussion, you must ensure that you do not miss an opportunity of raising your ideas, because you are clouded by the leadership question. The leadership question is the shortest process in any conference. It's nominations, and then after nominations, you see those faces, and then you start looking at those faces and immediately after conference, you start realizing some of your mistakes. In every conference, you realize, there was a mistake here. Because that's how dangerous is the fiction. Sure. It clouds your own thinking. You don't see real things. Because fiction, we are sitting here as a fiction, and we feel that we are dominant, we have power, and then we take this comrade and that comrade and that comrade and say, these are people who are going to lead us. And then reading of certain guidelines, certain documents or resolution, you start realizing, we have put someone in a wrong position. This one can't read resolutions. This one can't announce certain things properly. You realize immediately after the conference. That's how dangerous the fiction is. So when you are going to a conference, your mind must be very sharp and you must be very clear and you must ensure that everything you cover. No form of discussion that you must omit or say, "Ish, I wish I could have said it." Delegates now must know which commission they are going to participate, which document they are going to participate on. And they must not only think local issues. We are fine, we are from Eastern Cape, we are from branches of regions and all of that, but you must not only think Eastern Cape, you must go beyond the borders of South Africa.
Yeah.
You must go beyond borders of South Africa. Think international. Think who can we relate with in other countries. On the balance of forces, who do we feel that we must be more closer to? If we are saying we are more closer to the BRICS countries like Russia, China, what informs that? Every delegate must be able to articulate that. The atmosphere must smell Russia, must smell India, must smell China, because people, the delegates, have been baptized with that kind of a thinking. We must not have a limited kind of a thinking where we are thinking based on our branches or on our areas where we are coming from.
Tribalism.
And be regional. So our thinking must be beyond the borders. Yes.
Well, thank you, Nobala, for this discussion. It was a wonderful one. First episode of the Coastal Waves podcast. And we are going to try to do it every week, have multiple people on here, have proper discussions, and have a nice day. Thank you very much.